Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am here with my 5th bullet journal flip through. And I have to say I have been putting this off for a while because I had this idea that I was going to go back through and finish up some of the blank pages. And I realized that honestly I just needed to get on with 2018 and get on with planning stuff, and it was okay if I left a couple blank pages. So I'm biting the bullet and I'm going to show you guys how this bullet journal came out. So you guys remember my 5th bullet journal, I did only get 4 months in because I chose to do my 2018 setup in here. So I thought I'd go ahead and show you how it looked all together. So first I have my intro page with, my name and my Sunshine and Stationery email. So while I was using it, I did have sticky notes on this inside cover and on this part, like the bottom part down here. But once I finished with everything, I took out the sticky notes, and that is why it just looks kind of sad and blank. So you can see I have my color code along the side here, and it matches the color code I have along the edges of the pages. And I put it basically, so this is just blank, I put it on the first page of my index because when I have this open here, I can actually still see it, this like first page kind of pulls back a little bit. So I like having that little visual bit right there. As for my index, I kept basically the index hack that I've been using, where I have everything along the left side here, and then I have the page numbers on the right after a colon, and I have the colors I use with the number of the Tombow in pencil under, just so I remember, because I can't always tell looking at the color which one it actually was. So I've got that. I do need to go through and fill in the rest of my index at some point for my 2018 setup, but honestly, I just have other things that I need to work on that are a little bit more urgent than that, and it'll be in the notebook forever, so I can always go back and do it whenever I have time. So here we have my 2017 year at a glance, followed by Calendex and Future Log. I will link up at the top here if you guys are interested in watching the video that I did kind of explaining how I use this hybrid system, so I won't go into too much detail. I have my September through December goals, which are the goals for my 52 goals in 52 weeks challenge from 2017 that I decided I wanted to focus on during this particular bullet journal, and so I just made a list here so I didn't always have to refer back to my collection bullet journal. You'll see I have a fair number that I did not get to, and I will be doing a video at some point kind of showing you the wrap up of that particular, my 2017 goal challenge, and show you what I'm going to do with the goals that I didn't actually accomplish in 2017 and how I'm going to integrate them into my 101 in 1001 goals. Next up, I have my financial spread. You guys have seen this blank, so I just went ahead and covered up my personal information. But as you know, I have my income for all of the months that I'm in a particular bullet journal, followed by expenses, bills, and owed or pending. Next up is wish list, Nespresso, and waiting for, so pretty standard. I have my Instagram and my YouTube trackers, which I actually did this based on the style that Riccardo of the Boosted Journal does. I just used my own colors, but I use kind of the little boxes, so I used the setup that he has because it was very simple to set up and it didn't require using a ruler or anything like that, so I thought that was a nice way to keep track of things. And I actually had overflow down here because I had another overflow waiting for. So back when I did my setup, you guys might remember that I actually was going to do my YouTube mind map in here, and I ended up starting to use a social media bullet journal, and so I didn't need this, which meant that I had this full spread that I had already done a little bit of, I had already lettered the title on here, but I didn't have a reason to use it, and so I basically just used it for various other things to use up the space. Oops. Next up is the YouTube editorial calendar. I really liked this. I did this in my new bullet journal. I found it really helpful for me to both plan ahead and see what videos I've actually posted. So very useful spread, and you'll see on any ones that I didn't. So these were actually one of those where I had an overlapping week. I usually post on Sundays, so when I posted on the Sunday, I just crossed out the bottom here, and that's just why those are crossed out. My first library loans page, and you'll see down at the bottom I do have page threading because I had multiple iterations of this guy. Just a quick brain dump for my visit back to see family over Christmas. And then we get into monthlies. So you guys have seen my, my plan with me's and all of that, so I'm not going to take too long on here. This one, I hadn't done the gratitude for a while, and I think I forgot that I always did a full sentence, and I was just doing little like phrases. And so I got to the end of the month and I was like, why did I only use half a page? And then I realized that it was because normally I write a full sentence and not just a couple words. So go through this pretty quickly. So this was my Calendex overflow, and I found this really, really helpful to the point that I actually have this in my new bullet journal as well for things that, for example, I had on the Calendex here. So you'll see I actually had I had 4 things that I had to migrate because they were on my Calendex, but they didn't actually happen in this bullet journal. And so I just started the same thing. I have a full page where I can just kind of add Calendex stuff as I go, and then once I fill it up, I'll just do it on my dailies whenever it comes up. So I found that system very helpful. This was my attempt at an Alistair Method, but for planning things that I wanted to do for teaching. And you can see I did some things, and then it got to the end where certain things I realized I wasn't going to actually do, or I had them on different lists, so I just kind of abandoned this spread at some point. I don't even remember exactly when I stopped using it. Then into weeklies and dailies. Pretty standard. I was pretty consistent throughout this entire bullet journal where if I had work and university, I did the 2-page weekly, and if I had vacation or whatever, I would do a 1-page weekly. And I tried to keep similar colors throughout the month. So you'll see like this was a lot of like browns and greens and peach. So I kind of kept that green theme throughout and then changed the other color. Random brain up in there. So it was nice flipping through the month and seeing that, you know, all of September was in this kind of a color scheme, and it visually tied everything together for me. Then I have my planning page for the Bujo show and tell I did on the bullet journal website. I'll go ahead and I'll link the link down below in the description box if you're interested in reading my article. And into October. So I do still love this one. I love how that one came out. And I went a little crazy on the stickers in October because I had a bunch of really cute Halloween themed stickers from both Paws Paper and from Creas. Both of them have Etsy shops, and they sent me some stickers to test out, and they're so cute. So I just went sticker crazy in October. So, and you'll see here, this is where I started getting into adding in more Calendex items because I had run out of room on that first page. I have my transportation tracker because I carpool to the university. So at the end of a month or 2 months, we go through and we track up how much everybody owes. And so I keep track of that here so that I always kind of have an idea. And it helps out for when we're doing the accounting. I basically just send them a picture of my tracker and we know exactly who was in the car on which days. Here's my section of collections. So I had brain dump from TickTick, which is an app that I used to use a lot more, and I've kind of been weaning myself off of it just to not have as many to-do lists in as many different places. I had a list of collections I wanted to make, stuff I needed to do for work, stuff I needed to do during the school holidays that were coming up, and you'll see that I didn't migrate and I didn't cross off things at a certain point. You know, I crossed off when I did stuff, but if it was things that I ended up needing to migrate, for example, I got to a point where I didn't feel like just doing arrows for everything. So after I had migrated everything to wherever it needed to be, I just checked off at the bottom of the page, and then it was just a little faster for me to get through it. And also now I know when I'm flipping through that I don't have to look at anything on this page, even though there are technically open tasks. So back to weeklies and dailies. This was for my Letter Like a Lefty. I believe it was the 4th episode with all the styles, so I just did it straight in my bullet journal, so I'd have that. I love this particular week. I was a big fan of this whole color scheme. I just really like how it turned out. I had this quick little collection that I did because I wanted to get back into doing art. I had kind of fallen out of the habit once the school year started, and so I just made a list of things that I wanted to do that were kind of crafty, basically. So you'll see I got through a bunch of the things on this list, but at a certain point I realized I wasn't going to get to these, and I didn't feel like migrating them anywhere, so I just checked off the bottom, but I didn't do anything with the open tasks. I just left them. This was during the school holidays, so I had a 1-page weekly, and I did watercolors for my headers. I actually used fine text, so this was the rose gold, and then I used the moon gold, I believe is the one I have, and I did a mix with a lighter brown, just like a normal watercolor, to make it a little bit darker so you could see it. However, I realized that I was kind of busy doing stuff, and so the rest of the week I didn't do watercolors because it just took too long to dry, and I needed to get my dailies on paper and get going with my day. So that's why the rest of them are just in regular pen. Brain dump. As usual, had a bunch of extra space on here, so I actually looked at one of the stickers. I can't remember if it was from Paws Paper or Creas, but one of their stickers, they had this little haunted house, so I just tried to recreate it, and I did just black ink and then the moon gold on there just to kind of play around with watercolors. I have my first K-drama spread, which you guys know if you've seen on Instagram, I'm currently obsessed. So this was my first tracker, and I have page spreading down here for when I was ready to move on to a new one. My fall bucket list. Unfortunately, I did not actually finish everything on here, but that's okay. I got about halfway done, so, you know, not a total loss. Then into November. I'm not sure what happened here. I must have gotten water on here somehow, but like, I don't know where this came from. I have no idea. Just one day I opened it up and I was like, I have a spot. Anyway, so pretty standard. This one I went back to doing gratitude the normal way. And I was practicing a lot more with regular cursive, so I was not doing as much brush lettering, but I was doing cursive. And it was nice because since I wasn't doing as much brush lettering, everything was smaller, and so I could fit more things on there because I had kind of a busy month in November. My 1 month attempt at doing this that I completely abandoned. Oops. Halloween was actually on this day, so of course I had to keep up the stickers until after Halloween. Oh, this must have been the house that I was looking at, actually. So I believe this one is one from Creas. And a bunch of brain dumps, so I kind of split them up because I had a lot of things that I wanted to work on during the holiday. And so I had home, things to check out, things to make, and things for social media and fun. I did a little 5 before 2018 when I was visiting Riccardo in Paris, so Riccardo of the Boosted Journal, and so we did some bullet journaling while we were at a cafe, and these were the 5 things that I wanted to get done before 2018, and I only did 2 of them. Oops. And this was actually the planning page for that trip into Paris. I have my next K-drama spread, and then I have the next library loan tracker, which I got not too bad. Wasn't too bad in there. I didn't have as much time to read during the last couple of months of the year because I was so busy with work and university. And then back to dailies and weeklies, pretty standard stuff. My tights tracker, which I really like this, and I've been trying to figure out if I want to migrate something similar into my home bullet journal or if I want to just leave it here and I'll do a new one when I need to. I haven't decided, but at least I have the information for whenever I decide to buy tights in the future. So try and go fairly quickly through here, maybe keep this a tiny bit shorter than some of my other flip throughs have been. My Friendsgiving menu, because it's not a holiday here in France. A friend and I have a tradition where we do kind of a Frenchified Thanksgiving. So we eat duck confit, and we do Brussels sprouts with bacon and shallots, and we do roasted garlic and mascarpone mashed potatoes, and then we have a pumpkin pie. So we kind of mix the two cultures, but it's just a time for us to kind of hang out and celebrate on our own since we can't be with family. I have my budget challenge, which I have to say I was very successful at this. However, I did not actually buy myself my reward, and I probably won't because, I don't know, by the time I finished, I just wasn't I wasn't itching to get a new fountain pen as much, so I figure I'll wait until I decide that I really do want one or not. I also have my working towards, which I ended up getting the shoes on this, and the rest is just going to stay in pencil, and I decided to do a different version in my new bullet journal, just keep it simple. I think it was just too complicated, so I didn't really follow through with it. Then I have my priority goals for savings and a little quote because I just had that blank page. So now we're getting into December. My brief flirtation again for the I don't know how manyth time trackers, and I do find that I like the goal and the actual setup better. I don't know, I feel like it just keeps me more honest, and if I completely mess it up, I don't feel as bad because I know that I'm going to track what I actually did. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense, but if I have this goal of what I want to do with my day and something happens and I don't actually follow that, I find that if I have the actual, I don't feel like it's a total loss and that the time tracker was a failure. I just kind of reshuffle things. And I also was using Forest, so an app that makes it so you can't use your phone while you're working. And so that helped me keep track of how many hours I actually worked, which was really nice. And I don't know, this worked really well for what I needed it for. Next up is December. So pretty standard stuff. I have my total for 2017, which I was really happy. My goal was to read 52 books, and I read 82 books, so I read 30 books more than my goal, which I will take. And it made it so that for 2018, I decided to aim a little bit higher, and so I set 80 books as my goal for 2018. My Christmas vacation prep spread, so all of my travel information, my packing list, all of that fun stuff. And you will see I was really obsessed with holly leaves this holiday season. I'm not really sure why, but I just really liked the color combination and the look of the leaves. I have my next up on K-dramas, so the series I'd like to check out. My lists are always ridiculous, and I never actually watch that many. I just don't like to forget series that I'm kind of interested in, so that when I'm ready to start a new series, I have them all written down here and I don't have to try and rack my brain. Oh yeah, I heard about this one. What was it? I don't know. So I just make a big old list. More time tracker. My first Talk to Me in Korean tracking spread, which I have completely revamped this in my new bullet journal because this honestly was kind of a goof up one and I just went ahead and used it while I was in here. And we start in with my Korean, my attempt at doing at least the date and the dailies in Korean. All of my other side stuff is not. And I started doing my headers. Even though I hadn't officially learned these, and I still haven't learned the days of the week and the month, for example, in my Talk to Me in Korean lessons, I went ahead and I looked them up because doing the headers every day gives me a way that I can practice writing in Korean a little bit every day, even if I don't have time to do a lesson. And also I wanted to get my brain used to the days of the week, just to, I don't know, make it more familiar to me, I guess. So I started doing this and I've kept doing it and it's been really good. I'm actually getting better. I've kind of been absorbing the days of the week without really learning them. I kind of write them out without necessarily, at the beginning, for example, I wasn't necessarily saying the word in Korean as I was writing it out, and now I'm getting better about doing that. And I also know oh yeah, this is Saturday, for example. So I'm actually learning them just by repetition, if that makes sense. Kind of a haphazard way. Anyway, so I have my first set of Talk to Me in Korean notes because I did not at this point have my Korean journal, bunch of practicing because I decided after this lesson to officially just move into my Korean journal. More dailies. Oh, I like how this one came out. So I did on the red, I did white gel pen, and then on the parts that were on just the regular cream paper, I used a bronze gel pen. I think it looks kind of cool. Crammed a whole bunch of dailies in there. And then we had Christmas, so of course I had nothing on here, and so I just did a whole bunch of watercoloring to play around. Then we get into Christmas, and you can see I did not have dailies for each day. I did the 26th, the 29th, and the 30th, and then I have the 31st, and then the 1st and the 2nd. So I just went ahead and did all of my dailies up through until I was back in France and in my new bullet journal in here. And I actually did do, while I was on the plane, I did a daily for Thursday. I flew back on a Wednesday, and so I went ahead and did a daily for Thursday because I knew on Wednesday I would be completely jet lagged and exhausted, so I wouldn't get anything done. But I wanted to have an idea of what I wanted to get through. And the reason it's not checked off on here is because I ended up migrating this into my new bullet journal once I got back so that I could just kind of move into the new one. It was the new year. I wanted to be, in the journal I was going to be using for the school year, so that's why I have it, but I didn't actually use it in here. And then we're getting into where it's a little bit leaner. I have a couple blank pages. I have, the mini January spread that I set up before I went on vacation, and you'll see that I only used it up until I was back. It was really good having this reading tracker because I ended up getting a bunch of reading done on New Year's Day and on the 2nd, so it was nice to be able to just write those in there, and then when I got back, I transferred them to my full January spread and my collection bullet journal. And then more blank pages. So this is what I was actually kind of hoping to fill in, and I just realized I don't have the time right now. I don't really need to. I'm already in my new bullet journal, so so be it. It's not the end of the world if I have a couple of blank pages left in a bullet journal. I did have another K-drama. I have my post-trip brain dump, which the bookmark is on here because I have not finished migrating everything. I've probably done everything I truly need to, which is why I don't need to look at it, but I've left it on here. I just need to make sure that I go through everything and make sure everything's transferred that needs to, just so I don't feel like I have open tasks in another journal that I'm no longer looking at regularly. Then I have the things I needed to do before my trip, so my pre-trip prep. Finally, my 2018, so I've got my word of the year and my little header. And I showed you guys this when I was setting up my 6th bullet journal, so I'll just go through pretty quickly so you can see the whole setup. I've gotten through most of it. I have a couple of things. I haven't done my health bujo yet. I haven't done my social media bujo, but all of the stuff that I needed, right in January, I've got set up. And then I have a little goal section, so goals and such. So I have my big goals for the year, my money goals for the year. I've got a little section for travel, my wish list, things to check out, my 2018 budget, just like a general overview, nothing really specific. My 2018 to-do list, so things I still needed to do from this section of pages. The process I went through for choosing my word of the year. So I actually found a blog article online and I kind of went through that process. I'll have to remember to find the link for that to put it down in the description box for you guys. And then a couple more blank pages. Oopsie daisy. Blank pages. And then I had a couple of journal entries. So I had this one that was pretty long, followed by a fairly short one. Just I had the space in here, so why not? More blank pages. More. And then my exam tracker. So I did this at the back because I wasn't sure how my pages were going to fall out, so I figured it was just easier to find here. I just listed all my exams, the day they were due, what I had to do, how many pages I had to write, for example, and which class it was for, and then I did just a little tally, between these dates I have this many things to do, approximately this many pages, and for these 2 institutions. And then I had my full tracker on here, so this has, for example, the actual time, like the deadline on the platform online, where if I try and submit it after that, I won't be able to. So just a little bit more information. Oops. And then I got these stickers from Paws Paper, and I thought they were super, super cute. So I was like, I'm going to try them. But because they were sticker paper, I didn't want to put them in the middle of my bullet journal because I don't like how it makes the pages feel. So I just did them right at the end. And I have books to read. So I actually filled out a couple of the books I wanted to read. I got through one of them because I'm horrible about planning ahead and actually reading those books that I planned to read. I'm just terrible about that. I end up reading whatever comes up on overdrive, or I have this urge to read something completely different. So it was an experiment. And then I also have movies to watch. So I put in a couple that I wanted to watch. I actually have watched this movie, but I realized that I don't watch movies very frequently. I am so much more a TV person. So what I ended up doing is I just sort of split it, and I did my K-drama rewatch list. So the series that at some point I would like to rewatch because I really, really like them. And that was the end. So let's see, I don't think I have anything left in the back. So I did take out everything from the back in here. The last thing that I have to do, obviously I need to go through any of my brain dump style collections at the back of the bullet journal for my 2018 prep. I do need to go through and just make sure that there's nothing I'm forgetting. But I am not going to worry about filling in any of the blank pages. I'm just going to leave it as is. So after that, the last thing that I have to do is going to be doing my archiving stickers, and then it's ready to go on the shelf. So yeah, let me know if you guys have any comments or questions. I hope that this was detailed enough, but maybe a little bit faster. We shall see. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.